Good afternoon and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My sincere apologies for a late start for today's program, but today you are welcomed by Venix TV onto a new and brand new show, Growing Up in the Congolese Community. I am your host, Vanessa Mankoto, and I'll be discussing anything about growing up in the particular community and also how it has influenced certain individuals. I am joined today by two fabulous, amazing young ladies. Here at the studio, we have our sister Otilia, and via phone, unfortunately, because she could not attend today, we have Emmanuel. Sister Otilia, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Would you like to introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, of course. So my name's Atara. Obviously, she's calling me Otilia, which is also what people know me as. So I am Atara Nwerium, newly wedded. Like obviously most of you that follow this channel know, I am a preacher of the word. I am really deeply into the beauty business, and obviously quite a boss in my zone, in my domain.
Yes, that's
I
what
am
we like.
a zone manager in VM fashion merchandising.
Oh, excellent. And on the phone, we have our lovely sister as well, Emmanuel. Emmanuel, hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today on Growing Up in the Community, a Congolese community. Would you please like to introduce yourself so that we know who you are?
Sure, thank you for having me. So, as you've said, my name is Emmanuel Loni, and I am a journalist and a weather presenter working at the BBC at the moment. So, studied journalism at university, also have a master's in international journalism, and now really just working in the field and growing in that as well.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. So, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we have some very powerful, influential young ladies here. One working in the beautician industry and also the fashion industry. My apologies, the fashion industry, and also one in the media industry. Myself, I am a teacher. I'm a teacher of English, so I'm in the educational industry where, of course, I teach, but also I inspire young minds and help them get to the place where they need to be. So, for today then, growing up in the Congolese community, what was it like for you? When was the year that you arrived? How old did you arrive? And also, what was it like for you being in a new, complete environment? We're going to start with you, sister.
So, growing up in the Congolese community, very interesting. I think the most children, kind of this, generation would say so millennial, because I'm still a millennial.
Oh, yes, yes.
So, would say that's quite interesting. I arrived here at the age of about 8 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So I've been here most of my life, obviously doing primary school here, high school here.
What year was that?
I don't know.
8 years old, oh my gosh. That must have been a very, very long time.
So it's a very long time.
Yeah.
So obviously I have no kind of remembrance of, Congo or anything like that. So, came here. I love my culture. But I have no kind of backwards memories of any of that at all. So growing up here, I think that at that age coming here, I didn't really know anything about that culture over there that much, apart from the little bit that I obviously grew up with. So kind of adapted quickly. As children, you get to adapt quickly, but then you go into the community. So I went into the Congolese community I think at the age of maybe 18 years old, 19, that's when I came to discover what it was like. So prior to that, it was, growing around other races. But then I came to discover it at 18, which was very interesting, and we'll get to talk about that later.
Okay, no worries. So, as you can clearly see, our sister here has told us that she arrived to the UK at the age of 8, and she has had quite a very diverse upbringing. First of all, not really embedding or immersing herself in the Congolese community until the age of 18. Sister Emmanuel, what was it like for you then growing up when you first arrived to the UK?
Well, I came around the same age as well, actually. I remember arriving it was August. I remember it was August and I was 7 years old, and then I turned 8 in November. So I remember it very vividly. I remember the journey here. I remember my first day at school here. And I even remember life before I came to the UK. Actually, I remember growing up in Congo and how the community was. Like, you would usually live in a compound, so you would live with your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, and it was really nice. You know, it was family. Everybody's together. You'd celebrate Christmas together. You'd celebrate Christmas with people in the. If you live in the street, you celebrate with your neighbours as well. So I remember life, what it was like in Congo. But because I came at a young age, like the sister said, it's quite good because it allows you to really immerse yourself and you learn things easily when you're really young. That's how children are. They pick up things really easily. So yeah, very happy I think that I came at the age that I came, and which meant that I remember stuff before, and I also remember, and I also picked up things when I came to the UK as well.
Yeah. Oh wow, okay. So we have quite two very different approaches to how you guys first came to the UK. As for myself, I came here when I was very, very young. I know that I celebrated my 3rd birthday in this country. So I have no recollection whatsoever about being in Congo.
Yeah.
So with that kind of experience, and obviously both of you coming here quite at a much more, say, youthful age, around like 8-year mark, what was it like? What did you find so drastically different from being in Congo, being here, weather-wise, food-wise, people, from constantly seeing black faces to now seeing a variety of different races and faces? What was it like?
Well, I think that, it was interesting in terms of like, it's a transition of culture, because, Congo is completely different to here. The conditions of growing up here is completely different. For example, I came from where we grew fresh vegetables and fruits in my back garden, and then things completely changing. I was quite heavily involved with vegetation from back home, and all that kind of stuff like that. So I really kind of found it different in terms of, just having to learn a different language. But firstly, before that, I used to actually be in South Africa. We used to travel to South Africa quite a lot. So I kind of picked up English a little bit from there. So it didn't take me long to kind of learn English here. But, it was like that kind of thing where you're new and you're still having to learn a different language, you're still having to listen to a different language, and to adapt to that culture. I think that's what I found hard in being in school.
Yeah. So do you think adapting to the British culture, especially learning, different ways of speaking and different food types and how people spoke, especially colloquialisms and the type of slang that people spoke, did you find that quite difficult, or was it a lot easier to slide into and adapt to?
Well, it was definitely difficult because you're coming in, fresh breed, you don't know anything, you're a child, and, you have no knowledge of what's going on around you. I think the most thing that's faced around children maybe you come across from, those places of the world is just kind of finding that, being able to adapt into that environment and kind of being friends with people that, that's around you, which they might not know you, or children at that age where they don't want to be a friend because, you can't speak that language, or maybe you're new and you look different, you're a bit fresh, as we say. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you so much. And Sister Emmanuel, same question to you as well.
So, I think coming here, I think the language was obviously a barrier. And English and French, it's not like Spanish and French, for example, where some of the words are quite similar. English, for me, I just found it like it was a completely different thing. Nevertheless, it wasn't like something that I couldn't learn, because obviously now I can speak it. So I think coming at that age, it definitely made it easier because you're in school a lot. So the more you develop your own dictionary, I think stuff like that will come naturally. You pick up a few words here and there, or sometimes when you're watching television. And that was a lot of what I was doing as
well growing up. I used to love watching CBBC and stuff like that. So they had a lot of programs for children. So that was another way for me as well to learn the language and to learn about the culture actually by what I was watching on television and also by what I was seeing around me. But I think the weather was definitely a shock because I remember being back home in November. Sometimes it's like 40 degrees, but you're not going to get 40 degrees over here in November.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a big shock. But I think I was just happy because it was different, and I think
having been in Congo for the number of years that I was there, it was quite nice to just come somewhere else and just see how things are different. Because back home we'd watch a lot of films and stuff. You'd see how they would depict Europe and America and stuff like that. So to be actually there, it's like, oh, this is really what it's like, and for you to live it yourself. I think it was quite nice and pleasant. So yeah, I think I enjoyed it growing up.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much. So for those viewers back at home, you can see that both of our sisters here, both the ladies have definitely shared their in-depth experience about immersing in the British culture, but also coming to understand the language barriers that they may have faced, and obviously through time and through effort and through building their own vocabulary, they learn how to adapt and obviously immerse themselves. With that being said then, so this show is all about growing up or being raised in a Congolese community. Now, did you find at certain points when you were going to school, going to high school, going to college or university, that certain stigmas, or not certain stigmas, but certain stereotypes of being a Congolese individual kind of either held you back or pushed you furthermore to achieve what you wanted to achieve?
Well, I never looked at the stereotypes because firstly, I wasn't involved in the community. So I started to realize more of that, I think, when I was around university and, I was embedded in the church. I started to see that, there's sometimes to get past things and, to get past the mentality of people, it was like you had to break them in terms of people just fall so low of everything. And, it was kind of like you had to balance that out to kind of get to the place where you want to be. Yeah.
Okay. So here we have seen that, some people, some individuals are not really involved in their communities, and therefore they had to find a balance in order to see where they fitted in and find their own foot or their own standing ground. Okay. Sister Emmanuel, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that it's... Sorry, actually. Can you repeat the question again?
So the question was, did you find that growing up in the Congolese communities, there were certain stereotypes that held you back from doing what you wanted to do, or were there the stereotypes that kind of pushed you to go forward and obviously overcome them?
I don't really think there are many stereotypes, because I think at that age, I didn't really notice a lot of stuff like that. There may have been, but personally, I didn't notice anything. I think, as our sister said, when you get to like university age or you become like a teenager, a little bit older, that's when you notice things a bit more. Maybe people make comments or react a certain way. But I personally, I don't recall
any stigma or anything like that. One thing that I think I have to mention is the fact that for many of us, our parents came to the UK as adults, like yourself, for example.
You came, 3 years old, so parents were obviously already adults, and they had already developed their language and stuff like that. And so it was very challenging for them to really immerse themselves in a culture, to be able to provide for us and raise us up without, in a way, taking away values or anything like that.
That made them who they were as a person. So I think, if anything, I think that's where my influence would come from, the fact that, see my parents work really, really hard to try to better themselves, and then also to try and make sure we were making the most of the opportunities that we were given, because they weren't given that. They came to the UK as adults, and so many opportunities they missed, in a sense. So I think, if anything, growing up here I think it's opened my eyes in that sense. That
just to be grateful, I guess, and to make the most of every opportunity, because my parents didn't have it and other adults didn't have it.
Thank you so much. Well, with that being said then, so understanding your identity and understanding your culture, but what does it mean then to be Congolese? What does it mean? What is being a Congolese woman who is a boss, who is a leader, who is somebody so influential? What does it mean to be Congolese?
Congolese, Congolese is a culture, Congolese is a place, Congolese is a country. What does it mean to be Congolese? You're a person, I think it's as simple as that. You're a person. You are, you're from Congo, and, being Congolese doesn't necessarily mean that you have to, accept the culture, but, in terms of like how we do things or how they do things, but it's blood, it's embedded in you, you can't change that. So you're Congolese by who you're born by, you're Congolese by, your parents and where you come from, your roots. So you're Congolese by blood, yes.
You're Congolese by blood. Thank you. I think that's quite influential to tell other people out there that being Congolese is not just by the actual title, but it's by, how you are or who you are and obviously where you come from. Emmanuel, would you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I agree. I think people will, I've had moments where some of my work has been published online, and
I've been really supported by the Congolese community, which is always nice. But sometimes you'll get the odd comment where somebody will be like, she doesn't sound Congolese. And,
people have a different perception about what it
pathology is a big thing within, amongst Congolese people. For some people, it's about being able to make the music.
Some people, it's the food. So I think it's not just what I think. Obviously, being born in Congo, it makes
you Congolese, even if you haven't grown up there. The fact that that's where your roots are, or even if your parents were born there, but you were born in the UK, I think that still makes you Congolese, and it's whether you're willing to embrace that. So yeah, I think being Congolese is totally different things, but I think at the end of the day, it's what you want it to be, and I think being able to embrace it is obviously a key thing.
I agree. So I would definitely say being Congolese is who you are. It's something that you have to embrace, and also at the same time, it's part of basically your culture and your identity. Now, speaking of culture and identity, okay, so in our Congolese community, we have a lot of foods, traditions, different tribes, okay? What is your tribe like? So describe it to us if you know the name of it, because I know I don't know my name of my own tribe. It's not something that I have a daily conversation with my parents about. But what is it like, the kind of cultures and traditions that you share in your household or with your family members?
So I am from a mixture of tribes. I am 50%, I would say, well, they always tend to say that, your tribe takes from your father.
Your father, yeah.
So I would say that I'm from Mukongo tribe. If everyone knows what Mukongo tribe is, I am specifically Muntandu, if everyone knows what Muntandu tribe is. So we're really good with keeping secrets, we're really good at keeping our quarters, we're really good with money. And obviously you might recognize our food as well, like fumbwa, that's Oz Kwanga, we love plantain, yes, that's our thing. And as well, the other side of my family, so my mom is from Kasai, so she's Muluba, and she's particularly Muluba of Kananga. And I don't really know much about the culture because obviously I have grown up with my mom more than my dad, but she's also partial Muluba, partially Mutabandundu, so she's like mixture, but we leaned more towards the kind of Mutabandundu side, so that's where I got really to learn. And that side of the family, the Baluba, they love their food, they love they call themselves the Jews of Congo, so they're the Jews. Like I get a lot of people telling me, you look like a Muluba, you look like a Muluba, but no, the Baluba from my family are the dark Baluba. I'm not light because I'm Muluba from a light-skinned Muluba. I'm light because of my dad's side of the family.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So here you have sister basically explaining to us that she's from a mixture of two tribes. And obviously she has learned to accept one tribe and the other tribe and building them into one to have her own identity, and also embracing as well the kind of foods that they share in their tribe also. Now, Sister Emmanuel, Could you please share with us the type of tribe that you have in your blood or from your family members, from your mum's side and your dad's side?
So I always try to remember the tribe, but I always forget it at the same
One
time.
thing I know is that somebody recently called me a mixed race Congolese because my dad is from Congo Brazzaville and then my mum is from Congo Kinshasa, but she mainly spent a lot of her life in Brazzaville. And yeah, I've never heard that term before about mixed race Congolese, because we always think Congolese is, even though they're two different countries, we always
associate it as one group of people. But yeah, I think that because we've been here in the UK for so long, there is definitely things. And like for my siblings, for example, I'm the only one that was born in Congo. So for them, they've really embraced the food, and it's really nice as well when you have, for example, like footballers, for example, who are from Congo, who will be playing at top national level, and for top football teams as well, or who will be representing the country in various sports. It's really nice to see them like really behind them and rooting for them, because it's like that's where my dad is from, that's where my mum is from. So automatically that also connects to me as well in that sense. So yeah, so as somebody said, I'm mixed race currently, so Kinshasa, my dad is from Brazzaville, and I was born in Brazzaville as well.
Okay, lovely. So we've heard from Sister Emmanuel herself that she is a mixed Congo, okay? So she has her father who came from Congo Brazzaville and from mum who's from Congo Kinshasa. Either way, you are still Congolese, okay? So it doesn't matter from which tribe you come from in Congo. I know there's a variety of tribes that I do not know myself personally, but I know that there's a multitude of them. However, it does not change the fact that we're all from Congo. It does not change the fact that we are all from the same area, or we are all from the same communities. We all have that same identity, being Congolese. Now, when it comes to being Congolese, and obviously we have expressed the fact that, either our parents or our family members come from different particular areas and they come to share their experiences and their culture here in the UK. What could you say is one of the key things about your tradition or your culture that you have now seen and beginning to embed in your daily lifestyle? That could be from cooking, speaking the language, teaching your children or your siblings or other people younger than you something about your culture.
I think for me, it has to be, this might not necessarily mean in terms of just Congolese culture, but I think as Africans in general, one thing that I've been starting to see embedded in my, daily routine is just the way, we do things around the house. Like, now I'm married, for example, just taking care of my home, being that motherly figure, which I really believe in. And I have really strong views as well in that, being that motherly figure. I have, just like to take care of the house. I like to be the one that's up front with the cooking, making sure that everything is neat, clean, tidy, so that's one thing that I enjoy. And that's one thing that I think is important to me, regardless of where I am. That is one thing that I will always take with me.
So having that sort of motherly presence, that nurturing presence in your household, especially in the newly marital household.
Absolutely.
Always making sure food is on the table, you have food in the fridge, and food is cooked, a nice clean home, a welcoming home. A welcoming home is a blessing to anybody who enters that home. So thank you so much for actually sharing that. And Emmanuel, what do you think then? So what is one thing that you would definitely see that you have adapted or used in your daily lifestyle from the Congolese culture?
So yeah, I would say the same thing in the sense that might not be something that is only attributed with Congolese people. It's probably and most likely will be widespread.
But I think it's probably the work ethic. So as I mentioned earlier, our parents, they came here, as adults, they have to learn another language, and I think with languages, it's easier when you're a child, because you pick up things easier. You're really like a sponge. So when you're an adult, you really have to really make an effort. And so for them to not be put
any challenges that came their way, any barriers with language, and because they had come as adults, they already have a culture in a sense. They have a culture, they have a mindset, they have a way of doing things. So for them to, you know, not to be put off, to stick around, to not only integrate within community, within society, sorry, should I say, but for them to also keep,
you know, things that help them get to where they are now. I think that's one thing that really has helped me. I think it's that work ethic of just making the most of every opportunity that comes your way, and not taking life lightly. That's one thing that has really
to really, you know, be on your books. You know, when you have to go to school, go to school. When you have to learn how to drive, learn how to drive. When you have to get a job, get a job. You know, just really do the best that you can, because I think sometimes we can easily make excuses. You know, oh, I wasn't born here. Oh, I've had to learn the language. Oh, this and that. But I think if you're somebody that can overcome any excuse, I think that just, it shows that you have a really incredible work ethic. And I think that's what makes people stand out, when they're really decisive in what they want to do, and then they do what they say they're going to do. So I think it's the work ethic that's really helped me.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. So
in just the Congolese community, but in African communities. So adapting and learning to take that motherly role in your household, having that sort of nurturing presence, and also having very strong work ethic. So that could be in the field that you're working in, the profession or the occupation that you're in, or it could also be in the educational sector or the education in which you're pursuing in. With that being said, do you feel as though we as individuals, we tend to do we have to work harder in order to just reach a certain goal that other people are reaching at a simple standard? Do you feel as though as Congolese individuals, especially girls, we have to work 10 times harder to just be seen or identified as an average?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think that just being in a country that's not yours, firstly, you know, being in a foreign land, you always have to work twice as harder to just get to the places where you want to, because, you know, whether you want to like it or not, what about what I'm going to say, but, you know, they are going to prioritize people who, you know, who are there and who are from there in order to grow their wealth, the country, which is understandable, and, you know, completely agree with that. So I do think as well, yeah, that's one of the things. And as well, in terms of just community, if you decide to settle with the mentality that we have, you know, in some places, that it could be like, you know, it could be a breaking point in terms of like you not reaching your goals or your dreams. So I think that you have to work twice as hard, just because as well, people just expect so much from you as a woman, especially, like, you know, that you have to get married, you have to do this, you have to have babies, you have to start popping them out and backwards and forwards
By a certain
age. So if you really have that in your head and you put that perspective in your head without, you know, having to see the bigger picture of what life is actually about, you can just fall back and not end up reaching your full potential, because, you know, because of what society is saying, firstly, and also because of being in a foreign land where you get so many knockbacks.
Okay, so I would definitely agree with what you're saying, that we do have to work 10 times harder just to overcome the standard of societal norms, and also to make sure that we are aspiring to be the best that we can be, not only as individuals, but for our community, within our communities, and also with this preconception that, okay, we are different. So we have to show and establish ourselves as people who are different. Now, this question is to you, Sister Emmanuel, and I think you are a very vivid example of this, being the first Congolese individual to be a weather presenter at the BBC.
Woo!
You know, that's a title in itself. That's an amazing title. And I just want you to share with us, how did you reach that goal, and did you have support or any backing from family, the society, the community, your church members? What was the journey like for you reaching that particular position that you're in now?
Well, I think I've always had people who have helped me along the way, and this is something that when I look back
now I've picked up on it that, oh, you know, this person helped me here, because just like everybody else, or just like most people, you know, I went to primary school, and then I went to high school, and then I went to college, and then I went to university. and then I ended up doing a master's as well. So that route it seems like a standard route that most people tend to take. But I've noticed that for example, when I got to college, they had a group which was a group for students who had exceptional GCSE grades, and the whole group, I think it was called Mentoring for Excellence, and it was to help them, it was to push them really to apply for Oxbridge, so Oxford, Cambridge, for Russell Group University. So Russell Group is a group, I think it's 24 universities in the UK, which are known for being really, really, really exceptional when it comes to research and education. So in that group, you've got Oxford and you've got Cambridge as well. So when I was at college, because of my GCSE grades, I was put in that group, and they would help you with your personal statements. They would take you on days out to visit, Oxford and to visit Cambridge. So they were like really, really pushing you and making sure that you didn't just think, oh, let me just go to whichever university. They wanted you to open your mind really, and to let you know that the options are, the options are vast. So I've always, and within that I had a mentor, somebody who looked at my personal statement, who encouraged me and that kind of thing. And even when I got to university, I also had one of the lecturers were always available because I did journalism, so it was a very hands-on course, and we had to go out and film and edit and stuff like that. And there was always someone there. And even when I was doing my dissertation, I had a supervisor, somebody to look over my work.
And then when I was thinking about doing my master's,
of going to, I think it's one of the top universities for journalism in the country. And if you look, a lot of like top leading broadcasters, journalists went to the university. It's called City University of London. And even when I got there, one of the lecturers they'd always send out emails and about opportunities and stuff like that. And I think the amazing thing about teachers, because you're a teacher yourself, I know you'll agree with me on this, is that they can often spot potential even when the student doesn't see it themselves. They see students differently to how students see themselves. So I've always had people around me who always thought, oh, she can do it. Whereas I was just like, yeah, maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. But it's always been nice to have people to push you, and of course having my parents as well, who, to push me. But I've always wanted to work at the BBC. Ever since I knew that I wanted to get into journalism, for me it was like, okay, BBC. So when I worked in London for a bit, and then when I came back to Manchester to work here, the opportunity came up to be one of the stand-ins for the weather presenter, to be one of the backup weather presenters. And at first I was really apprehensive because I don't have a meteorological background. I'm not really I did journalism at university. I didn't study meteorology or geography or that kind of thing. But then I was like, why not just apply? Well, just put your name forward, and hopefully something will come of it. And they did, and I got the training. And now, I'm presenting and even, covering, like yesterday, for example, I did the whole shift. So I did lunch program, evening program, late program, and then radio in between as well. So I think I've always had people around me, and even my parents as well, to really push me and to just really keep focused on the goal. And I'm just one of those people that I really, really, I don't think anything is impossible. I don't see things as being impossible. And, I've had rejections along the way. But I always think when you're rejected, it's a redirection. It just means that this is not for you. And, it's like another door has been opened and you've been directed to somewhere else. So yeah, that's the answer to that question. It's quite long.
It's given us some insight into how obviously you have established and by telling us that you obviously, you went for the same route as everybody else did in the community, from primary, high school, college, university, with your degrees, with your masters, to attending a Russell Group University, and obviously challenging yourself and moving away from home, which is, another interesting thing that we're going to talk about and touch upon. and obviously seeing the different areas where you have seized opportunities and also where you have been rejected by certain opportunities that you really wanted, which has now put you in an even better position that you did not foresee to come, which is amazing. And, you know, thinking about that, there has been a lot of challenges that I think a lot of individuals, both young and old in our community, where we don't know either how to take rejection or we don't know how to, you know, decline rejection. That could be from a business perspective, a personal perspective, or even from just an understanding and just a general acceptance. For you, Sister Attilia, do you think that, you know, it has helped you, well, rejection has helped you, push you to be where you are now and to obviously overcome any sorts of obstacles along the way?
Absolutely. For me, it was always about having a goal of where I wanted to see and where I pictured myself, where I wanted to be. So for me, even if I got knocked down, whatever happened to me, I always aimed to go forward and try harder. If I couldn't find it through one direction, I always try the other direction, you know.
Yeah.
And I think for me as well that I kept my eyes focused regardless of the rejections. Obviously, for you to attain greatness in life and anything, you know, great, brilliant, you're going to have to face them, because firstly, it teaches you how to be persistent.
Yes.
And secondly, it teaches you how to move forward and not to repeat the same mistakes again. So for me, it has made me stronger in a way that if I know that I want something, I'm going to carry on pursuing it until I get the thing. So my stopping point is the bus stop where I stop in the thing that I wanted before I start figuring out whatever else that I want. So rejection has definitely been a helper. And I'm the type of person, I like to say this, I'm the type of person who likes to evaluate things. So I like to sit there and, you know, evaluate how things are going wrong and how things have gone well, you know, be that kind of a thinker and, you know, planning, even though sometimes plans don't always work, you know, but planning my moves and planning my steps and how long I'm going to remain in the place as well. So all that has been kind of a build up and an add up of where I am today.
Okay, that's amazing, honestly. Thinking about obviously being young ladies in the Congolese community, I feel like as if we do get a lot of setback and rejection from our own members.
Absolutely.
Especially because perhaps maybe you know, certain individuals are just not happy for us, or they just feel like as if we're showing off. But hey, if my success is talking for itself, you know, why should you always be feeling down, or why should you be feeling sort of like neglected? It's not me boasting, or it's not you boasting. It's just my success is speaking for itself. So why is it that sometimes in our communities we either like to shun other people or make them feel guilty about where they are in their standing?
I just think because the mentality of, you know, some of us is very low. We don't aim high enough, you know, to reach some goals or targets. So when they see individuals like us coming on forward and, you know, kind of being pioneers of things and, you know, triumphing in our areas and our domains, people don't like it because it challenges the insecurities inside themselves. You know what I mean? So, you know, people start to feel threatened by it. However, if you're in a place like this and, you know, for example, you're in Europe where an opportunity is given to every single individual to go out there and become whatever they want to be. I can purely understand if this was a background where we're in Kinshasa, some people might not have the privilege of having that financial aid to support them through studies. But this is a place where everyone is equal, that you can aim and to become anything that you want to be, and you can become that thing. But because people don't like to work hard, they don't have that work ethic, they don't have that right environment, or, you know, they don't have that kind of passion within them. When they see someone else try and think, you know, they start to jealous them, they start to hate on them, they start to become bitter, you know what I mean? Whereas that time that they're focusing on, they should have really been focusing on themselves. Obviously, I'm going to give this as an example because we've just been in a show where I've had loads of hate comments from someone, and, you know what I mean? And I just think it's pure jealousy. It's based on, you know, jealousy that, you know, when someone, I always think when someone says things as such as you think you are better than everyone else, it's a reflection of that person and it's not a reflection of you. You know, I will triumph in my place and I will triumph in my situation, my domain. But, you know, you need to work on yourself as an individual and as a person.
I agree. I definitely agree. I feel like as if sometimes in our community, and I say sometimes because not everybody is like this, only certain individuals who do, express their jealousy or express their, hatred towards other people, they don't really think about the back foot of, okay, this person has worked X amount of times really, really hard to get where they need to be. So if I take my own example, for instance, I was raised in this country with my brothers and sisters, with my family, and I took the leap of faith by going to live in a foreign country, completely out of this world, all the way in China on my own.
Oh my God.
No family members, no friends came to visit me. I was, Skyping everybody, FaceTiming everybody every single day. And it was something very, inspirational for myself because I wanted to challenge myself. I had that goal. But then when I see or hear individuals, oh, she's showing off because she's been to China, get this for me, listen, I'm doing this for myself. I'm doing this in order to establish myself and inspire the people behind me, my younger brothers and sisters who want to achieve something by going that extra mile to discover who they are.
And not to stop you, and I think that's why it's very important that this mentality does not get passed on to the next generation.
I agree.
Because what we're seeing now is that so many people are embedding this, jealousy trace of, where people are succeeding in their, or triumphing in their, environments or in their domain, that, that jealousy is getting passed on. We have to be very careful that as pioneers of the new generation of people that are coming downwards, that we're actually supporting each other to go forward, because this is the only way that we're going to achieve being great. And I think if you look at other countries, if you look at other continents, if you look at other places, for example, let's say the Indians, they generate wealth, by themselves.
Yeah.
If you look at the Jews, the only way that they generate wealth as well is by their community.
Yes.
And the reason why we are lacking all of this, especially in the Congolese community, because we lack unity and support. Oh, I'm not going to support this sister because she already thinks she's doing too well, so why should I go and support her? But you don't know, actually sitting in the feet of somebody who's doing better than you might teach you a thing or two of where you want to be and get to as well.
Oh, say it louder, sis. For those in the back, they need to hear. Open your ears and listen very wide, okay? Now, it is a very, it's a passionate thing when we bring this topic up, growing up in the Congolese community, because we have so many, I can't even begin to name them. So many of my acquaintances and friends who are doing exceptionally well in their lives. But it's this whole idea of lack of support, lack of unity in our culture that is just holding us back. Why is it that we cannot support our brothers and sisters who's trying to start their own fashion line, or who's trying to start their own media company, or who is trying to really develop themselves to understand new certain things and explore themselves? Why can't we not support them? Why is that? Sister Emmanuel, do you have an understanding or a reason why is it that we're lacking so much support in our community?
Just to go back to what we were talking about, jealousy and that kind of thing. I think it's everybody, to an extent, innate nature to have some sense of jealousy.
When you see somebody doing, somebody will do better than you in life. That's a fact, and we can't pretend it's not going to happen. It is going to happen. But I think what's important is what you do about it, because there'll be some people who they'll take it back, in a bad way, and they'll go away and become bitter about it and so on and whatever. But there are some people who will, they think, they ask themselves, why am I jealous? Oh, because they've managed to achieve something that I haven't. Okay, so then what do I need to do in order to achieve what they've achieved? And I think one thing that I've really learned is just learning from other people, because the one thing I tell myself is that I don't know everything, and you can learn from literally anybody. You can learn from a 2-year-old child. You can learn from a 50-year-old man. You can learn from somebody at the bus stop. And I think sometimes we can be quite closed off and be like, oh, this person can't teach me everything. And maybe we feel that we have to go above and beyond to try and prove, oh, I know this, I know that. And I think just to come back to the point about, I think people have to be confident in themselves. If I come and say, oh, I present the weather at the BBC, it's a fact. I'm not saying it because, oh, whatever, but, at the end that's the fact. So I think people need to understand where we come from when we make declarations or we say certain things. Some things are just, it's a given fact, and you should say it. You should be proud because, you've worked hard to achieve whatever it is you've achieved. And if you want to push on and do more, then nothing should be able to stop you. from doing that. So to pick up on the point about you saying about support, I think it really varies. But one thing that I would say is don't wait around for people to support you. Yeah, because then you'll be waiting for 50 odd years or whatever, however long it takes. Believe in yourself. If you're doing something and you have a strong sense of this is what I am,
this is what I'm doing, it's very easy for people to follow you. You know, that's what makes a leader. A leader has a strong conviction about whatever it is they're doing, even when it's wrong. You know, the person has a conviction. So I think if you're not getting the support yourself. Be your biggest cheerleader. You know, put yourself out there, work hard, because, you know, like our sister said, about being persistent and being consistent.
I think there's no way that you can fail if you have those qualities, and even if you're not getting the support, I think you should just support yourself and believe in your vision, believe in what it is that you're trying to do.
Touch upon this as well and add on this. I just feel like because of that lack of support, there is a lot of people suffering with confidence issues and low self-esteem. And when somebody is really at a point where they have low self-esteem and lack of belief in themselves, then they start to portray on other people. Yes. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it becomes a point.
Give their burden onto someone else.
So it becomes a point of attack to other people. And I saw this post from Facebook, actually not quite long ago. I think maybe a week ago, where it says they watch, they hate, then they follow. And you know what I mean? I was like, okay, that made sense, because it's for people who have low self-esteem. That's why it's really important for you to build the self-esteem in yourself, build a confidence in yourself. And, you know, and like Emmanuel say, make sure that, you know, you support yourself regardless. That's one thing that I had to learn the hard way, because I used to be the type of person who was always seeking for approval. And what actually that was doing to me, it was making me go backwards rather than forward, because it's not you thinking for yourself, but you're letting other people take control. So the moment that I started to know what I want, this is what I want, this is what I'm going to do, and show my ears, then that's where I was able to achieve, you know, the things that I achieved. So it's very important that you support yourself. It's very important that you build confidence and self-esteem as well in yourself.
Yes. So as you can see, for those viewers at home, we have obviously established and talked about, obviously, you know, where support comes from, how it is done, and also this element of jealousy within our community. I think it's quite heavy in our community sometimes, even in the most slightest form. Yes, we do all have a small fragment of jealousy within us, but it's what we do with it to help us establish ourselves and where we want to be. And our goal, this whole idea of having an objective, is very, very important. With that being said, then, do you think that with our community, especially the young, being very open nowadays, being very not experimental, but being very allowing themselves to just see, you know, different variations of life and different variations of understanding, do you think there's something that you can pass on to them, or something that you can encourage them to do within their communities to help support their community?
Definitely, I would say speak up. You know, one thing I could always say is that I've had my fair share of trouble with always being the person who spoke up. And, you know, I just feel like God was preparing me to be this type of character and this pioneer of, you know, being able to speak the truth and being able to be fearless and bold in my environment, you know, to give way to other people as well, to the youngins behind me. I would definitely say to every single generation to speak your truth, speak your facts, and keep to it, regardless of people, whether people like it or not. You know, you're gonna always come past people, go past, you know, be in front of people who are going to agree with what you say, regardless, you know, whether, you know, you're pleasing them or not. So to me, it's always be true to yourself, speak your facts and speak your truth. Speak
your facts and speak your truth. Sister Emmanuel, what do you have to say?
One thing for me, I would say be nosy, but in a good way.
Be nosy, but in a good way. Okay.
So one thing I like to read. So if I come across somebody who's done something amazing, has achieved something absolutely amazing, I like to research into the person. So if they've got an autobiography, I'll buy it, I'll read it, because I think that's where you get the keys, that's where you get the wisdom, I guess. You find out the little bits that they did and the habits that they developed over time, which has resulted in something, you know, because habits, you know, I always say good habits are hard to keep hold of but easier to live with, whereas bad habits are easy to pick up but difficult to live with. So that's one thing I'm nosy. I mean, well, journalists, I ask a lot of questions anyway, but one thing I like to do is I like to do a lot of research. So if, you know, I come across somebody, or if there's a company that's, you know, doing really, really well and it's of interest to me, then, you know, I'll research into it, you know, find out the history, the background, that kind of thing. So that's one thing that I would pass on, because, you know, history repeats itself. What somebody has done
has been done before and will be done again.
Mm-hmm.
So
for you, you know, learn from those who have accomplish something that you want to accomplish, because not only it saves you the mistakes and the, you know, maybe the loss of money, the hardship, or, you know, whatever, and it opens your mind because you see things differently. You know, I always say I would have loved to be 12 with the wisdom of a 30-year-old, which obviously is not, you know, physically possible. But if you have someone around you who has that wisdom, ask them questions, you know, nag them a little bit, you know, find a mentor if you can, you know, if you want. I think that's one way that you can really, really push yourself, is just to do your research. Like, if you're really interested, and it can be anything, you know, whatever you're interested in, just really look into it, read about it, research, watch programs about it, really like throw yourself at it. And I think that's how you learn and pick up things. Yeah.
okay, thank you so much. So there you have it.
Of how we could help and better our communities and show some standard of change by, you know, allowing ourselves to be a bit more open, to be listening, to be supportive, and to also have a little bit of wisdom by being nosy and asking questions. Be very inquisitive. Find out what the other person did in order to get where they needed to be. Don't use your jealousy for a sense of hatred, but use it for something that you can benefit from. So something that you can always apply into your own lifestyle and have a good habit in order to establish yourself individually. Now, unfortunately, we are now wrapping up our show and we are coming to a close. But there's one thing that I want us all to try, and a message to send out to our Congolese community. And it's the final word and message of what you'd like to say. So when you say your final word and message, I want you to start it with, dear Congolese community, I would like to see, I would like to hear, or I would like to envision. Manifest it onto our community, because manifestation go far. Yeah.
Dear Congolese community,
Oh yes.
I would like to see togetherness, support of young youths, and to let them to become and triumph into what they want to be. I would like to see people being built up instead of being teared down.
Okay, wow, that was powerful. Thank you so much. Sister Emmanuel, your final words, please. Dear Congolese community. Hello, Sister Emmanuel?
Oh, hi.
Go ahead.
This community, I would like to thank you first of all for the foundation that you gave me, but I would also like to see people just reaching their potential, people pushing themselves, people breaking down barriers, stigma, people not putting themselves back, people supporting one another, encouraging one another, almost not really confronting one another, but in a sense that sharpening one another is the word. You know, sharpening
Yes.
your neighbor so that they can be the best version of themselves, and that you can also be the best version of yourself. So people who are very driven to just do their best in whatever it is that they're doing. Don't ever feel like, because I think there are different types of jobs. I think some jobs are more in the open, whereas there's some other people who are doing it behind the scene. Nevertheless, they're still doing something. So don't ever feel that because you don't have that exposure that you're not accomplishing anything. Absolutely not. Believe in whatever it is that you're doing and put 100%, 150% of yourself in it.
Final say to put an end to the TV program and to the show. Dear Congolese community, thank you for being here. Thank you for showing me my identity, and thank you for allowing me to have a voice to speak and to educate people. I would like to see in our community more togetherness, more of a hybrid between the young generation, the adolescents, and the older generation. And I really do want to see and envision more unity. I think that our community are so hung up on separation by tribe, by language, even sometimes by color. One's lighter, one's darker than the other, but I don't want to see that anymore. We are all one. We are all an amazing community, and I just want us to thrive and be the best. And that is the final say for today's program. Growing up in the Congolese community. Thank you to those of you at home who have watched this. Thank you to Venix TV for allowing us to have this platform and to express and share our views as well as our experiences and to make the world a better place. Thank you so much, and God bless.
C'est qui s'étend, à qui obéissent les vents et tempêtes, qui agite à l'eau par des tempêtes et les vents. C'est qui s'étend, à qui obéissent les vents et tempêtes, qui agite à l'eau par des tempêtes et les vents. Venez voir, il y a ici plus que Salomon, yeah. Venez voir, il y a ici plus que Salomon. L'entendre parler, son langage est vraiment troublant. Les hommes ont parlé, mais jamais comme cet homme. Les prophètes ont parlé, mais jamais comme Jésus. Les évangélistes ont parlé, mais jamais comme cet homme. Les apôtres ont parlé, mais jamais comme cet homme. Les pasteurs ont parlé, mais jamais comme Jésus. Les docteurs ont parlé, mais jamais égalé. Car toute la plénitude vit en lui seul. L'onction sa mesure, oh, vit en lui. Toute mesure. Oui, allez.
Qui cet homme à qui obéissent le vent et tempête?
C'est qui cet homme
Qui agite à l'eau par les tempêtes et les vents?
Soulève les mains et frappe pour la gloire de Dieu.
Qui cet homme à qui obéissent le vent et tempête? Qui agite à l'eau par les tempêtes et les vents?
C'est un Jonas, tu t'as balé, et tu as pris ça,
la tempête. Oh yes.
et tu as pris ça,
La colère.
à des morceaux. C'est un Jonas, tu t'as balé, et tu as pris ça,
La tempête. Oh yes.
et tu as pris ça,
Ta colère. Oh yeah.
à des morceaux.
Le sacerdoce aujourd'hui dans mon cœur. Le sacerdoce aujourd'hui dans mon cœur. La joie remplit mon cœur. Autrefois j'étais un olivier sauvage, égaré, privé de la gloire de Dieu. Mais le ciel est descendu me rendre visite. La main invisible qui me touche et qui brise les chaînes de ma famille. La main invisible est une personne pleine de puissance, Jésus. Alléluia. What could you do? What could you do? Nothing impossible. Nothing impossible. What can't you do? What can't you do? Nothing impossible with our God. You do not lie, you do not fail. What is hard for you to do? It doesn't exist, no. It can never ever exist, no. You do not lie, you do not fail. What is hard for you to do? It doesn't exist, no. It can never ever exist, no. According to your knowledge, I know it from me. What to say you are brand now, that's not what I know. Because you are not a man that changes your mind, oh. Those I know you will trust in you. Nothing else is in chariot. But I'm a flesh, no man can prevail. No man, no man, no man, no man. My confidence is you. What is high for you? It can never exist, oh. You do not lie, you do not fail. What is hard for you to do? It doesn't exist, oh. It can never ever exist, oh. You do not lie, you do not fail. What is hard for you to do? It can never ever exist, oh. Those I know you will trust in you. Nothing else is in chariot. But I'm a flesh, no man can prevail. Ask Abraham and Sarah, no horses and chariot, by the arm of flesh, no man can prevail. No man, no man, no man, no man. My confidence is you. What is I for you? It's gonna ever exist. Oh, you do not lie, you do not fail. What is hard for you to do? It doesn't exist. Oh, it's gonna never ever